Beyond the Brink stroke. Recovery stories that ignites hope and resilience. Imagine a sudden terrifying shift. One moment, life is flowing predictable, filled with plans and routines. The next, a shadow falls, unbidden and brutal. This is the stark reality of a stroke, a medical emergency that can hijack speech, paralyze limbs, cloud memory, and fundamentally alter the very fabric of existence. For many, especially those in their middle and later years, a stroke feels like an ending, a final, irreversible decline. The fear is palpable, the prognosis often grim. But what if the story doesn't end there? What if even after falling beyond the brink, there's a powerful, often miraculous journey of recovery waiting to unfold? This isn't a fairy tale, nor is it naive optimism. It is the profound, inspiring truth revealed through the lives of countless stroke survivors who, against immense odds, reclaim their voices, their movements, and their futures. Their tales are not just about regaining physical function. They are narratives of indomitable spirit, of human tenacity, and of the incredible plasticity of the brain. They are stories that ignite hope and resilience not just for those who have faced a stroke, but for their caregivers, their families, and anyone who believes in the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. This comprehensive exploration delves into the remarkable world of stroke recovery. We will journey through the immediate aftermath, explore the science of rehabilitation, and most importantly, share the personal triumphs of individuals who have navigated the challenging, often frustrating but ultimately rewarding path back to a meaningful life. These are not just medical case studies. They are testaments to courage, hard work, and the unwavering belief that life, even after a stroke, can be lived vibrantly and purposefully. Prepare to be inspired to understand the true meaning of resilience and to find profound hope in the face of what often seems like an insurmountable challenge. The immediate aftermath. Navigating the tsunami. The first hours and days after a stroke are often a blur of medical interventions, anxious waiting, and profound uncertainty. For the stroke survivor, there can be confusion, fear, and a terrifying inability to control their own body or communicate their needs. For families and caregivers, it's a tsunami of emotions from shock and grief to desperate hope. In the emergency room, the focus is on stabilizing the patient and determining the type of stroke. Ischemic strokes caused by a clot are often treated with clot-busting drugs like TPA, if administered within the critical time window. Hemorrhagic strokes caused by bleeding in the brain require different approaches, sometimes involving surgery to relieve pressure. These initial medical decisions are vital, laying the groundwork for whatever recovery might follow. Once stable, the focus shifts to assessment. Neurologists, nurses, and therapists begin to evaluate the extent of the damage. Can the person move their limbs? Can they speak clearly? Do they understand what's being said? These early assessments, though often painful to witness, are crucial for tailoring the rehabilitation plan. It's a period of intense vulnerability where the person who was once independent might now rely entirely on others for basic needs. This immediate aftermath is where the seed of hope often feels buried deepest, but it is also where the initial sparks of resilience are often kindled. Even a twitch of a finger, a glimmer of understanding in the eyes, can be a monumental sign of what's to come. The brain's remarkable comeback. The science of neuroplasticity. At the heart of stroke recovery lies one of the most astonishing capabilities of the human brain, neuroplasticity. For decades, scientists believed that once brain cells were damaged, they were lost forever, and the brain's capacity for change was limited. However, modern neuroscience has revolutionized this understanding. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. It can literally rewire itself. After a stroke, neuroplasticity allows the brain to compensate for damaged areas in several ways: rerouting and sprouting. Healthy brain cells can form new pathways and connections to take over functions previously handled by the damaged area. It's like a detour opening up on a damaged highway. Unmasking of silent synapses. The brain has dormant connections that are not typically used. Stroke can activate these silent connections, allowing them to take on new roles. Strengthening existing connections. Repetitive tasks and focused rehabilitation can strengthen the remaining healthy connections, making them more efficient. Neurogenesis. While less prominent in adults, there is some evidence that the brain can generate new brain cells, particularly in areas related to memory. This inherent ability of the brain to adapt and rebuild is the cornerstone of stroke rehabilitation. It means that recovery is not just about coping with deficits. It's about actively stimulating the brain to reorganize and regain lost functions. This scientific understanding gives profound hope, transforming the seemingly impossible into a tangible goal. It underscores why persistent targeted therapy is so incredibly effective even years after a stroke. The pillars of recovery rehabilitation in action. Stroke rehabilitation is a multidisciplinary marathon, not a sprint. It typically begins as soon as the patient is medically stable, sometimes within 24 to 48 hours of the stroke. The intensity and duration of therapy depend on the severity of the stroke and the individual's progress. The core pillars of rehabilitation involve specialized therapies, physical therapy, PT reclaiming movement. Physical therapists work to restore movement, strength, balance, and coordination. If a stroke causes hemiparesis weakness or hemiplegia paralysis on one side of the body, PT is crucial. Techniques include constraint-induced movement. Therapy, CIMT. The unaffected limb is restrained, forcing the use of the weaker affected limb. This forces the brain to rewire and strengthens new pathways. Imagine tying your good hand behind your back to make your weak hand work harder. Repetitive task practice. Repeatedly performing specific movements like lifting an arm, gripping an object, or stepping. Repetition is key to neuroplasticity. Balance training. Exercises to improve stability and prevent falls, often using specialized equipment or surfaces. Gait training. Relearning to walk, often with the aid of parallel bars, treadmills, or assistive devices. Robotics and virtual reality. Advanced technologies can assist with repetitive movements and provide engaging, immersive environments for therapy. The goal of PT is not just to regain gross motor skills, but to improve functional independence, helping the survivor move safely and efficiently in their daily life. Occupational therapy. OT mastering daily life. Occupational therapists focus on helping stroke survivors regain the skills needed for daily living activities. ADLs and instrumental activities of daily living IADLs. This includes self-care skills, eating, dressing, bathing, grooming. OTs might adapt tools or teach new techniques to compensate for deficits. Cognitive rehabilitation, addressing problems with memory, attention, problem solving, and executive functions. This can involve brain training exercises, organizational strategies, and compensatory techniques. Vision rehabilitation. If vision is affected, OTs might help with strategies for scanning, tracking, and adapting the environment. Home modifications, recommending changes to the home environment to improve safety and accessibility, such as grab bars, ramps, or modified kitchen setups. Adaptive equipment training, teaching the use of assistive devices, like specialized utensils, dressing aids, or writing tools. OT empowers survivors to participate as fully as possible in their lives, fostering independence and confidence. Speech-language pathology, SLP, finding your voice and more. Speech-language pathologists address communication and swallowing difficulties common after a stroke that affects brain areas responsible for these functions. Aphasia therapy. Aphasia is a disorder that affects the ability to communicate. SLPs use various techniques to improve speaking, understanding, reading, and writing. This might involve picture cards, apps, melodic intonation therapy, singing words to aid production, or group therapy. Dysarthria therapy. Dysarthria is difficulty articulating words due to muscle weakness. SLPs work on strengthening facial muscles, improving breath support, and slowing speech to improve clarity. Dysphagia therapy. Difficulty swallowing. Dysphagia can lead to choking and aspiration. SLPs assess swallowing function, recommend dietary modifications, e.g., thickened liquids, and teach exercises to strengthen swallowing muscles. SLP is critical for restoring communication, which is fundamental to social interaction, emotional expression, and overall quality of life. Other vital therapies and support. Beyond these core therapies, stroke recovery often involves psychological counseling, addressing depression, anxiety, and emotional lability, rapid, uncontrollable mood swings, which are common after stroke. Support for caregivers is also vital. Recreational therapy, engaging in leisure activities to improve physical, cognitive, emotional, and social well-being. Nutritional counseling, ensuring a healthy diet to support recovery and prevent future strokes. Social work, assisting with discharge planning, connecting families to resources, and navigating financial or insurance issues. The combination of these therapies, delivered with consistency and patience, taps into the brain's neuroplasticity, driving the remarkable progress witnessed in stroke survivors. Stories of unyielding spirit beyond the diagnosis. The true heart of stroke recovery lies not just in the medical science but in the extraordinary human stories of resilience. These are individuals who faced devastating setbacks, but chose to fight, to adapt, and to redefine what's possible. Their journeys are often long, filled with small victories and frustrating plateaus, but they demonstrate the sheer power of determination. Sarah's Second Symphony. Reclaiming the music, Sarah, a vibrant 62-year-old retired music teacher, lived for her piano. When a sudden stroke robbed her of the use of her right hand and severely affected her speech, she felt her world had ended. "My music was my life," she'd try to articulate, tears welling up. The initial prognosis for her hand was bleak, but Sarah refused to accept it. Her physical therapist, understanding Sarah's passion, incorporated music into her therapy. They started with simple exercises, pressing individual keys with her right index finger, then two fingers painstakingly. Her speech therapist used melodic intonation therapy, helping Sarah sing words she couldn't speak, slowly rebuilding her linguistic pathways. There were days of profound frustration when her fingers wouldn't obey, or her words came out as jumbled sounds. But she persisted, practicing diligently, humoring her therapist by humming scales, even when her voice wavered. Months turned into a year. Sarah still couldn't play complex pieces, but she could play simple melodies with both hands, slowly, deliberately. Her speech was still affected, but clearer, filled with determination. One day, her therapist walked into the rehab gym to find Sarah slowly, imperfectly playing Ode to Joy on a small keyboard. Her right hand moved with effort, but it moved. The notes were a bit hesitant, but they were there. It wasn't the virtuoso performance of her past, but it was her second symphony, a testament to her unyielding spirit and the remarkable ability of her brain to find new ways to create music. Sarah now volunteers at a local community center, teaching basic piano to children, with one hand showing them that even with limitations, music and life finds a way. David's new language. The art of adaptability. David, a 70-year-old avid reader and storyteller, suffered an ischemic stroke that left him with severe aphasia, making it incredibly difficult for him to understand spoken language and produce coherent sentences. He felt trapped in his own mind, unable to share the stories that had once defined him. His family was heartbroken, seeing his frustration. His speech therapist introduced him to alternative communication methods. Initially, David resisted wanting to speak normally, but slowly, with immense patience, he began to embrace picture cards, Then, a communication app on a tablet. He learned to point to images to express his needs, then to string together simple sentences using the app's voice synthesizer. It was a new, often clunky language for him, but it allowed him to express himself. What truly ignited David's recovery, however, was his love for reading. His occupational therapist suggested he try audiobooks, while simultaneously following along with large, print physical books. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to connect the sounds with the written words. He also discovered a passion for drawing. He started sketching the scenes from the books he read, and then surprisingly began drawing out his own stories using images and a few carefully chosen words written in large, deliberate letters. David never regained his fluent speech. He still communicates primarily through his tablet and drawings. But he now hosts a weekly storytelling session at his local senior center, where he uses his drawings and the app to share his life experiences. His audience, primarily other stroke survivors and their families, is captivated. He has found a new voice, a new way to share his profound wisdom and humor. David's story isn't about complete recovery of old abilities. It's about the profound human capacity for adaptability and finding new, powerful ways to connect with the world. Elena's Marathon. The Power of Incremental Gains. Elena, a spry 75-year-old who had always been fiercely independent, experienced a stroke that left her with significant weakness on her left side, requiring a wheelchair. The thought of being dependent was unbearable to her. "I will walk again," she declared to her physical therapist on day one, a fire in her eyes. Her rehabilitation was a long, arduous marathon of tiny incremental gains. First, it was just shifting her weight in the wheelchair, then standing with full assistance, then taking a single step with two therapists supporting her. Every small improvement was celebrated. Every plateau was met with renewed determination. Her family, particularly her daughter, became her biggest cheerleaders, recording her progress, however minute. Elena faced setbacks, days of profound fatigue, moments of despair, when she felt no progress. But she would remember her declaration. Her physical therapist introduced her to a specialized treadmill with a harness that supported her weight, allowing her to practice stepping motions. She spent hours on it, her legs moving slowly, deliberately. She also joined a stroke survivor exercise group, finding strength and camaraderie in shared struggle. After 2 years of relentless effort, Elena walks. She uses a cane for balance and tires easily, but she walks. She can now navigate her own home, tend to her small garden, and even make short trips to the local market. Her steps are slow, but they are her steps. Elena's journey is a powerful reminder that recovery is often a marathon, not a sprint. It's about consistency, celebrating the smallest gains, and never giving up on the vision of what's possible, even when the path is long and winding. Her resilience isn't defined by complete restoration, but by the relentless pursuit of regaining independence, one determined step at a time. The caregiver's crucial role. The unsung heroes behind every stroke, survivor's journey to recovery, stands an often unsung hero, the caregiver. Whether a spouse, adult child, or close friend, caregivers provide the vital support system that makes rehabilitation possible. Their role is multifaceted and demanding, encompassing emotional support, providing encouragement, understanding, and a listening ear through the emotional roller coaster of recovery. Therapy assistance, helping with home exercises, reminding the survivor of therapy strategies, and attending appointments. Daily care, assisting with personal care, medication management, and mobility. Advocacy, communicating with medical teams, navigating healthcare systems, and ensuring the survivor receives the best possible care. Logistical management, arranging transportation, managing appointments, and adapting the home environment. The journey of recovery for a stroke survivor is profoundly intertwined with the resilience of their caregivers. Caregivers often experience their own emotional and physical toll, from stress and exhaustion to grief for the life that was. Recognizing the importance of caregiver well-being is paramount. Support groups, respite care, and professional counseling are not luxuries, but necessities for those who give so much. The stories of stroke recovery are truly collaborative, built on the unwavering dedication of both the survivor and their supportive circle. Beyond recovery. A new definition of life. For many, full recovery to their pre-stroke state is not achievable. However, the true measure of resilience often lies not in returning to who they were, but in embracing who they are now and finding new meaning and purpose. This new normal can be profoundly rewarding. Survivors often discover renewed appreciation, a deeper appreciation for simple things, for independence, and for life itself. New passions. Discovering new hobbies, interests, or ways of contributing to their communities, as David did with his drawing and storytelling. Increased empathy, a profound understanding of vulnerability, and a desire to help others facing similar challenges. Many survivors become advocates, mentors, or volunteers. Strengthened relationships. The shared journey often deepens bonds with family and friends. Inner strength. An unshakable belief in their own capacity for resilience, having overcome such a formidable obstacle. The journey beyond the brink is not merely about regaining lost function. It's about a profound transformation. It's about finding strength in vulnerability, adapting to new realities, and ultimately embracing a life that may be different, but is no less rich or meaningful. These are the powerful narratives that truly ignite hope and demonstrate the incredible, enduring spirit of those who face stroke and choose every single day to recover, to adapt, and to thrive. Their stories are a beacon reminding us all that even after the darkest storms, there is always the potential for new light, new growth, and new purpose. The human capacity for resilience, after all, knows no bounds.